Yo, what up, y'all? Thank you so much for dropping by, man. I'm just gonna dive right into it, man. This is pretty much gonna be about that Resident Evil 4 pretty much remake, and about how I feel about studios, about doing like little exclusives, little exclusive deals, backdoor shady deals behind Xbox back, Nintendo, PC, cloud gaming. Like, I don't feel like it should be room for that at this point in time in gaming, because you got to think about it. How much money gaming is bringing in, it's enough for everybody to eat, so I don't really feel like, why do you feel like you need to, why does Sony, those Decepticons, feel like they need to put a block and blocking rights on all of these games? Like, they want to lock down Capcom biggest AAA bangers, Square Enix biggest AAA bangers from pretty much from Xbox, PC, Nintendo, cloud gaming, anybody else, Facebook, whoever else, Amazon, whoever else want to get into gaming. They want to lock down everything before anybody else can pretty much get dibs on it and put their bid in and say, hey, we would like to have this game on our platform as well. So how can you say, like, let's say for example, you want, Resident Evil on your platform as well. I want it on my platform. What Sony does is they will somehow get in touch with the studios first, right? And say, well, we want to make this either timed exclusive. Can we make it time exclusive or exclusive? Depending on the price. Depending on if they feel like, okay, if it's going to be worth it, like something like God of War, of course, they would pay for that to be exclusive forever, because that is a huge AAA banger. But for Resident Evil, a multi-plat game, they're going to be like, well, maybe we would probably want something like that to be maybe, multi-plat, but timed exclusive. Not saying that it is a time exclusive. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that Resident Evil is going to be a timed exclusive, but I'm just pretty much using that as an example as to what Sony have been doing for so many years. And now that everybody is pretty much, it's pretty much out in the open. Sony have been exposed for all of their dirty deeds, being shady, lying, greedy, grimy, scheming, backstabbing, doing these little crazy deals behind everybody's back. And nobody was really saying anything because they feel like, okay, we already know Sony is the home of quality games, AAA bangers. So we really don't want to tell them no, because they're already established. They're the market leaders. They already have a huge fan base. So we don't want to tell them no, but we don't know how to say, hey, we kind of want to put this on PC, Xbox, or Nintendo, or cloud gaming, but we don't really know how to say that. So we would just accept the deal, because we don't want to make Jim, Ryan upset or mad at our studio, and then they just cut all ties with us and they don't want to do any more business with us. I'm talking about, man, this gaming industry is getting real dirty. It's getting real greedy and grimy. Like, it's getting to the point where they're fighting for our business, but at the same time, you have Sony not really wanting to bring us value, but they want to put a paywall up on everything. They want to charge you and tax you top dollar for everything that you do. You want to charge us for a frame drop, plastic box, remake station, top dollar. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, are you serious right now? How much money do you really think we are willing to pay for a plastic box throughout this whole entire generation? You're just gonna keep remaking games and you're charging $70. You're double dipping, you're cash grabbing all at the same time. You're sending games over the PC, double dipping. Then you're doing remakes for cash grabs. Then you're not even capping them off at 60 FPS. Now you're being lazy. Now you're pretty much showing us that only thing you care about is money. Because we know half and half, like only, what, like 10% of the gaming community really going to care about high-end graphics, 60 FPS. It ain't really 10-15%. Like the rest of the gaming community, they just want to play the game. They just want a game to play. PS5 ain't really delivering because they ain't bringing value. So you have to sit back and wait every 6 months, 12 months before you get another AAA banger. And of course it's going to sell because you've been sitting back waiting so long. So if it's a remake that drops, okay, cool. We get a remake. All right, cool. I'm about it. You about it? This PS5 been collecting dust for like 6 months because everybody gonna go to PC and Xbox because that's where the value is. That's where the Game Pass is. You know, that's where all the games at that you don't got to keep paying $70 for. A majority of the gaming community, they're not trying to pay $70 a pop. I'm sorry, they're just not. You know what I'm saying? So you can sit back and all these little Sony ponies and fanboys can sit here and cap. But every time you drop that $70 on GameStop table, they say, hey man, let me get that game. As a matter of fact, plus tax. $70 plus tax. Every game. Matter of fact, $70 to $100 on a remake. On a remake, bro. Like, come on now. This is just ridiculous. I think it just pretty much got out of hand with these remakes and these cash grabs. And now we're getting burnt out because everybody's doing it. It's like, okay, stop with the remakes. Time out. Stop with the announcing the remakes. Okay, what are we doing in this game? Sony, what are you doing? Are we really just gonna just ignore the fact that you have a large fan base out of all of these millions of fans that Sony have? You are not taking no request on bringing any classic games back or moving forward with any games that you already have out. Far as, for example, yes, they're working on a new Ghost of Tsushima. These games take 4 to 5 years. Being that they are doing remakes, they can probably just copy and paste. Like, for example, Last of Us. Copy and paste. And then make a CGI cutscene. And make the whole entire gaming industry, wow, that's beautiful. But then it's mediocre in gameplay. It just look remastered. A few more details, you know, boost up the frame rate, the resolution, you know, cash grab. What are we really doing in this generation here? Because for far as I see, there's no need to buy a PS5 at this point. It don't feel like it's worth the price that they're asking. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to dig deep right now and figure out what is the purpose of having one. For bragging rights. But what comes after you buy the PS5, it's like, okay, why do I have it? For what? To prove that I got a premium quality console that ain't making part 2s, part 3s to games, a remake station, a frame dropping plastic box that's overpriced, that they're making cheaper, that's going to pretty much fail in the future. After a couple years go by, you're gonna start seeing a lot of problems with these consoles because they're making them cheaper. You know what I'm saying? So, and then they're rushing them out. Talking about you want to sell 30 million come next year. For what? You ain't bringing us no value. What, you want to rip off 30? You want to rip off 30 million more people? Huh, Jim Ryan, you Decepticon? No, it gets to the point where it gets frustrating when you think about it, because it's like, okay, what are you really doing to help bring value to the gaming community? What are you doing to make us hype, turn us up about another announcement like God of War? But we ain't gonna get one until Spider-Man 2 and to Wolverine. Those are the only two I can think of that I will be turned up to hear about and see some gameplay, which is they not even delivering that. Even if they gave me some gameplay to God of War, I'm not even gonna be turned up. I'm gonna be turned down because it's like we've been begging too long. It's like, oh, why now? Okay, wow. It's like you ain't even that far away now. Why even do it now? You know, you done canceled all of your showcases, state of plays, E3s to even do anything. You know, you got all these third party channels and developers trying to give us a little bit. They're talking about the game, but they ain't showing us action. Man, this is crazy, bro. Lights, camera, action. All we asked for was some gameplay. You know, and the remakes are cool, but it's like it just feels to me like it's just a distraction. You know what I'm saying? It's distracting us from what we're supposed to be focusing on. Like, I don't feel like we're getting what we deserve out of this entire generation. And it's just sad because you have so many like big fans and gamers in the gaming community, and they're trying to decide for the holidays which console should I go with. Should I go with PC? Should I go with Xbox, Series X, the Series S, or Nintendo, or Amazon Cloud Gaming, Game Pass? Which one should I go with? Mobile? Should I just game on my mobile phone, my device, and pretty much connect it to my television so I don't even have to buy a console? You don't even need a console if you got a Game Pass. So I'm thinking to myself like, okay, well, what is the need? Why would you buy a PS5 at this point if you know what's going on in the gaming industry? So that's why I want to deliver that message. Like I said before, I'm just a messenger. It ain't that I'm knocking PS5. I'm just saying they're not making the right moves for a true gamer. Maybe a casual gamer, you know, somebody that just have a little bit of time to game. But if you're a hardcore gamer and you're gaming hours and hours and hours and hours out of a day, PS5 might not be for you if you don't have the right, if your money's not right. Now, if your money's right, by all means, go get a PS5. But if it's not, and you're like, man, I need the best value, bro, I just really don't have it like that. I'm just being real. We all don't have it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody don't got it like that. So you can't really expect everybody to be on a PS5 premium high quality console, price tag $70 a pop. The console's way overpriced. They are doubling the price in other countries. You can't even get your hands on one. You can't even really do a walk-in. You got to be on a waiting list. You got to worry about scalpers. You got to worry about if the game breaks or tear up, or if you try to buy a game by accident on the digital market, or if somebody buys you a game and you try to return it, it's going to be an issue with Sony because they don't even like to reach out to their fan base. They don't even like to talk to you. Only thing they want to talk is money. That's the only thing they understand is cash, hardcore cash. You know what I'm saying? So don't even think about you're gonna do no. This same time, Sony gonna be like, Jim Ryan over there like, same time, man, I don't know you. You're sitting there like, man, come on, man. Stop playing with us, man. Decepticon? You just robbing your whole entire fan base, bro. Like, come on, man. These remakes are getting out of hand. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that's all they're focused on. Like, it's like, where did we go wrong in this generation to every week, every other day I hear about another remake? Like, if they are going to do remakes, bring back Driver. Bring back Twisted Metal. Bring back all of the AAA banger. Bring back these old school games, you know, that everybody is asking for. Especially Sony. You're trying to do a blocking right against Call of Duty, Activision, Blizzard. You're doing every remake except the ones that we're asking for. Where's SOCOM at? Where's Resistant or where's the new Killzone remake? But way better, 10 times better on PS5 and PC. You know, it could still probably be on PS4 as well. But at the same time, where's these announcements? That we actually see Jim Ryan actually going out his way to put a smile on our face and make us happy. Where's that announcement at? I'm still waiting to hear it. To say, hey man, you know what? Yeah, we're bringing back Killzone to go up against Call of Duty. You know the hype would be around that game because they already know that they're doing it for the fan base, the resistance. You know, they're doing it for the fan base. They don't get it. But see, when you're a market leader, you're a billionaire, you're cocky, you're arrogant, you're on top of that mountain, and you're looking down on your fan base. See, sometimes you can get so high up, you don't want to hear anything. Look at, for example, look at what Kanye West is going through right now. Kanye West, Yeezy is being canceled by everybody and their mama right now. Because he reached the level of success and he was so high up with all these billions of dollars, he couldn't handle it. And that's the same thing what Jim Ryan is going through. He can't handle that much pressure. He's mentally unstable. That is the oldest pony to walk the planet. His horseshoes are gray. When he walks, he leaves gray marks behind him. That's dust. It's dust. When he gallop, it's dust. He have all the little My Little Ponies telling him that he's doing everything right because they're confused. They are stirred up, man. They're delusional. They're hypnotized by all the old school games, all the AAA bangers, all by the PS1, 2, 3, and 4. They're hypnotized, man. They delusional. They're stuck in the past. That's what happened when you get stuck in the past. You don't want to move forward. We all know somebody like that right now in our life that we know. Man, let it go. Move on. Even with relationships, you know it ain't working out. Let it go. Move on. Stop letting this person hold you back. You know, I just wanted to make that point. I don't like this whole entire movement that we're going with, man. I'm not feeling that. I'm really not feeling the whole entire remake movement. It's getting way out of hand. It's making these studios more lazier. All they're doing is copy and pasting these games, CGI trailer cutscenes, cash grabbing, you know, exclusive. They're trying to make it exclusive and time exclusive to make it feel special, which it is not, because all you're doing is copying and pasting. You know what I'm saying? Then you're gonna double dip. Once it flatline on PS4 and PS5, then you're gonna send it to PC and double dip and make that PC money, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying, if that's your strategy, just come out and say that. Don't try to make it seem special. But man, I don't know, man. But we're gonna dive into this video, man. They're pretty much gonna go over this whole entire remake on Resident Evil. So here we go.
Yes. Okay. So just last week, we got very lucky, horror game fans. There was a presentation from Konami about just a ton of new Silent Hill stuff, and then more importantly for me, there was a presentation on Resident Evil 4 and the kind of final DLC coming to Resident Evil Village. All of it looked very awesome, but the cool thing is that I actually got to go to a preview event last week, or a week or two at this point, and play 45 minutes of Resident Evil 4. I basically played the entire opening village section up until when the church bell rings. I got to play through the demo kind of at my own pace and my own way, and had a really good time with it. So I wanted to just break down 13 really cool things I noticed while playing it. As a huge, crazy, hardcore Resident Evil 4 fan who has played through the original game probably 25 times at this point, it's psychotic. Anyway,
I had your number way higher than that. I had you like in the hundreds. Like, you know, you were triple digits.
It might be. It's just my annual kind of comfort food loop through. So, and maybe even more than that. So, all right, number one, it's scarier now. Like, that was a big kind of thing that I think people were like, is it going to maintain that kind of balance, the tone? The original game wasn't exactly like, you know, the scariest thing in the world, but it did have some creatures jump out at you. It had, you know, moments where the chainsaw guy would catch you from behind, cut your head off, it'd go flying off in the air. It had those horrible verdugos and like just...
Oh, yeah. No, there's some spooky parts in that, but I feel like it's very much sort of the jump from like Alien to Aliens. Like, that's when it becomes... There's some scary parts, but it's a lot more action-packed too.
Yeah.
Stuff will jump out at you, but then you can suplex it.
Exactly.
Which is
exactly.
good.
And in this game, sort of like, the original Resident Evil 4 had this kind of like early morning, feel like you're waking up and like the sun's coming up in the forest, and you're like, I'm not really sure. It's either that or it's like the sun's about to set. This, it's fully dark early on, and it feels night, and the forest is denser. It's just creepier, and I played on PS5 with like the 3D audio headphones and everything like that, and like moving in certain directions and hearing grumbling and groans from like the corners of the forest and stuff like that, or different parts of the houses. I was like, somebody's coming up. You would just hear like, and you're like, oh no.
So do you think it's scarier because the tech has gotten better?
I think the tech has gotten better. It's like made everything just feel a little bit more dense and moody and just creepy. It's just got this general unnerving undertone to it.
Well, there's also the level of like it's unfamiliar to a certain degree. Like they've added new stuff to it. They've changed little things, which we're going to talk about a bit. But like this game like the back of your hand. So of course the original isn't scary anymore.
Right. Yeah, I tweeted about this. To me, what this game is doing really interesting for somebody who's played the original a ton, and I think even for new players, is that it's kind of striking this really great balance of like familiar and surprising to me. So every time I was like, I know what I'm doing here. I know what to expect. I know what's going to happen. I would turn a corner and something would change. Number two, the first house that you walk into in the village has a basement now. It's got different corridors. It's got this sort of like branching paths. It's got different enemies lurking around different corners. And that immediately caught me off guard, because the original house you walk in, triggers a cutscene, a guy turns around from the fireplace, he lunges at you. Leon's like, what's going on? I'm here to save the president's daughter. None of this makes sense. You run upstairs. The upstairs of that house is like terrible. Like architecturally, like if you own this house, you'd be like, so what do you have upstairs? Oh, a desk. And there's no bathrooms in the house. Like, don't think about it too much, right? There's plenty of filthy toilets in Resident Evil, but in this one, there isn't. Now, this house is like big. It's got like underground areas, and just like creeping around, you'll find a bunch of stuff that was absolutely not in the original. There's like an item pickup that you can kind of look at that you're like, oh, something bad happened here for sure.
So he got a like a raise in the village. Whoever this village guy, he's got a new job at the village. He's like the head village honcho now.
Yeah, he's been selling chickens down at the the main village area.
Selling them to Del Lago, probably.
Every now and then,
whoever's feeding Del Lago, he's taking
exactly.
the chickens to
You get those golden eggs every now and then.
Exactly.
So one of those. Number 3, you can stealth now. This is really cool. So there's a character, there's a woman to the side of the village in the first major area. She's always hanging out by the chicken coops, all the way to the left. If you've played this game a lot of times, you know that like it's fun to go to her first and just stab her a bunch of times, and she turns around and she's like, and then everyone in the village goes, and they just start to kill you. This time I was like, here we go, I'm gonna do that again. Tiptoed up to her. She didn't turn around, and it gave me an option, kind of like sneak up behind her and just stab her in the back of the head and
cool.
killed her. And then no one in the village like knew yet. And I was like, oh, so this means like this is a game that's already, it's not super into like ammo conservation and stuff like that. But like if you have the opportunity to not engage and use all your bullets, then take it. Which means that like theoretically we could sneak by enemies later in the game.
I always play my Resident Evils in any survival game with like as minimal bullets fired as possible.
Same.
So like
RE4's always been good like that, because you like shoot a kneecap, they fall, suplex them, knife them, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so I think there'll be a lot of that here.
Does it seem like you can do like a stealth run? Like what triggers the the villagers all coming out?
I mean, I think theoretically you could stealth to a certain extent, but like that main village area does not let you pass until like a certain number of enemies have been killed.
Right.
And they mob you very, very quickly.
Sure.
Which like they do communicate with each other. It does feel like they're flanking you and stuff like that. But speaking of knives, number 4, the game speed in general is quicker now. You can run and shoot at the same time, which basically makes everything faster, but not necessarily easier. But your knife now, instead of being this thing that you kind of like pull out and cumbersomely swing around and axe a barrel or hit a barrel or whatever, it's like a prison shank. Like it's like imagine you're watching a movie about a guy that's getting killed in prison, and then somebody comes up to him and goes like, that's what it feels like now. Like you come out there with this like with this blade, and it is quick, it is guttural and aggressive and awesome. I really, really love it. Which is good because you're going to need some weapons because Chainsaw Man, he cuts through villagers now. Like, he will straight up, like, 5 people in front of him, who I guess are his neighbors, right?
What's his name? Dr. Salvatore?
Yeah, Dr. Salvador or something. Salvador.
Yeah.
And he'll just run up on you and, like, I was on a roof and I was like, well, all right, there's a couple people in between us. And so obviously, you know, he's going to have to, he'll run past them or something. And he just goes, rah, 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 and just like all of them are like, and move out of the way. And I'm like, oh no, you do that now? Like, there was a lot of like just being like, I didn't know they could do that now.
Yeah, because I feel like in the previous versions, you could like shoot one of the them in the chest, and they would like bounce back into him, and it would stagger him back a little bit to give you a little bit more time if you were like close to needing a reload.
Yeah.
But this also gives me hope for like pacifist runs to where you're getting the enemies to kill all the other enemies minus boss fights. I'm really interested to see if that's possible.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think like we're gonna you and I especially, Jada, are gonna be the kind of people that like do everything that you can possibly do in this game, unlock every costume, play on every difficulty. I really hope the Las Plagas removal gun is in there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if people know about that, but when you beat Resident Evil 4 in professional mode, you unlock this gun that lets you walk in a room and it shoots a laser that automatically targets the head of every enemy in the game, removes the Plagas from their head, which is that like thing that makes them infected, and they all just drop that. It's like super OP, but it's hilarious and I love it. Number 7, this game is so much grosser now, especially all the villagers' houses. You go into their homes and they like kind of like remember going into the kitchen in Resident Evil 7 where you're just like,
what do they got in the instant pot? Oh, cockroaches and diarrhea.
Larva, right? Larva and diarrhea. This game now, like there's just like animal carcasses on like cutting boards, and there's like weird Blair Witch-esque bone sculptures hanging from the ceilings. They got that rattling noise and stuff like that. There's blood and guts it's just grosser now. I love it. Like the original village in Resident Evil 4, you would walk into like a shack and there was just like a woman knifed to a wall. There was like a butcher's knife in her head, and like Leon read it and he's like, oh, that's not good. Like, I don't like that. And there's just so much of that now. Like they just added all these gross little details to everybody's houses.
I mean, this is one of those things, along with it being scarier just by the sheer nature of this adding things. They're not going to clean it up.
No.
You know? Like, they're not going to go in and be like, well, this is an awfully gross house. Let's make it nice. It's like, that defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to make it grosser. But like, obviously, you know, this is running in the same engine as RE7 and Village. And like, I'm sure they've had some practice making like disgusting chicken bone skeletons or person bone skeletons that they can stack up and hang from the ceiling and just get horrible with it. So that's good news.
I know. It's rare that people in Resident Evil have like a normal meal and then, you know, or maybe like it started normal and then they died for a while and then the bugs took over. It's just gross.
Bugs eat what bugs want to eat.
That is true.
They need Tupperware in that universe. They just put that stuff in the fridge and make sure the fridge works.
Resident Evil 4 has big bugs. We haven't seen them yet.
We haven't seen them yet.
So excited. Up next, you can actually, if you're really lucky, melee attack the Chainsaw Man with your knife. This is absolutely, that was something that was not in the original game, and I got extremely lucky with like the L1 button. In like a heartbeat, it just like flashed by real quick. Chainsaw guy lunged at me. I pulled out my knife. It went locked into his chainsaw and just like ground down his gears, like literally. Like it was just like, and like I've seen some people be like, you know, this could be potentially game breaking. I will say that like there was a time where I tried to do it and it didn't work, and then there was another time I tried to do it and it worked. So you're gonna have to get your timing right for that one.
Was there any repercussions for him when you countered that? Like, did it do damage to him? Did it disable the chainsaw
It's very, very expensive. He had to go and get a new.
Go to the shed. He had to go back to his basement, or what's the other villager's basement, and get another chainsaw.
Yeah, no, it pissed him off for sure. And the thing is, now he has these like still got that big bag over his head, but he has these like horrible blood red, like
he's got googly eyes. Just
rabid. Yeah, there's like these deep blood red rabid like animal eyes at this point now.
You know what? I actually
he just looks like a stuffed animal. It's kind of funny.
I hope that's like an unlockable is googly eyes. I want to play through it entire Resident Evil 4 with just googly eyes.
I mean, if that doesn't, somebody's gonna mod that.
Somebody's got to.
From what we've seen in like, you know, Remake of 2 and 3, like somebody's gonna do some very, very stupid stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Up next, another thing he did to try to kill me that again totally caught me off guard was I was running to the right side of the main village area where they have like the chicken coops. You find those herbs and stuff like that. And he took his chainsaw and I ran through an area where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. They put like a little roof here. That was never here before. And he just goes rah, 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 and cuts down the support beams, and then the roof went to fall on my head. And I'm like, okay, so you want to crush me to death outside of killing me with your chainsaw? You're horrible. You're total psycho. You're awesome. I love you.
Okay, so is there anything they took away?
Well, not necessarily just yet. And so, like, my fear so far is that Capcom has said that this game is going to be roughly the same length as the original. And I know a lot of people like look at the island section at the very end and they're like, oh, you know, that's when it went like kind of full action game. It's a little too far, a little too much. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. To me, it's like the least... The like not probably the weakest part of an amazing game is still really good, right? And still really fun to play. But I have a fear that they've padded out some areas, like some of the aforementioned houses early on, and they're going to pull back later on. So we'll see. Like if there's that push and pull there, and it doesn't feel like large chunks are missing, like they did with Resident Evil 3 remake, then you know. If it feels okay, I'm not too worried about it. But for now, wait and see.
They took out the dog.
They took out the dog.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, the dog's actually not on my list, but we mentioned that real quick. There was a dog in the very beginning of the game of the original one, where you had a choice to either like walk by him or shoot him or free him. And if you freed him when you did the El Gigante boss fight later on, he would show up and distract this large, naked baby man from killing you with a tree. And it was great because that guy was like, I gotta fight a wolf now.
And now he's just dead.
And now he's just like, So hopefully there's another dog.
I love that because that is such like a message to people who think they know the source material.
Yeah,
like that reminds me of in The Shining, the movie. They drive a different colored car from the book, but when they're driving up the mountain, there is the color of the same Volkswagen Bug, but in the color that's in the book, it's like a brown one or something, and it's basically like it's broken down, and it's like Kubrick being like, it's not the same. It's different. That is the car from the book. That one has crashed. This is my car. It's going up the mountain. In this case, it's like that dog is dead. That dog is not saving you.
I know. Maybe there'll be another one. I hope there is another one. There's probably several dogs. There's obviously several dogs in the Resident Evil universe. They've been jumping through windows for 40 years. But all right. Next up, you asked about something that was actually missing. That scene that happened, that was one of the most iconic things I remember when playing the original demo, seeing the original video of Resident Evil 4. Leon Kennedy runs into a building in the village, closes the door behind them, and he pushes a bookshelf in front of the door to block the villagers from coming in and killing him. Now, you just run in and it just triggers a cutscene, and then you run upstairs. So there wasn't any stuff where you're moving furniture to block windows and doors yet. As you know, later in the game, there's that huge sequence with Luis where or Lewis, I forget his name. How do they say it specifically? And you're in a house, and there's people coming through the windows and the walls, and they're trying to kill you. And you're basically holding down the fort for like a couple hours. What feels like a night, but. That wasn't here yet, so I don't know if that'll be a thing. Like back then, moving furniture in a third-person action horror game was one of the most novel things in the world. But since then, like I don't know, pushing stuff around a 3D environment isn't.
They had that in Village, so it would make sense. Like they have the systems for it. It just maybe that's a way of sort of countering the fact that you can now counter chainsaws.
There's also been said like this build isn't the final build.
Right.
There are things that could be in this village that you weren't able to see in this demo session, because I can't tell you how many demo sessions I've gone for countless games where I play through a section, get to it when the game launches, and it's different.
Yeah.
They've changed things. Things have evolved, upgraded. So we might see that. It's just it's noticeable that it's not there now.
Yeah, I mean, famously, like Resident Evil 4 specifically, if you pre-ordered the game 20-something years ago, it
came with a soda.
It came with Resident Evil 4 preview disc, right?
Yes.
Which was like a demo build of the game that ran from the beginning until the very end when the church bells rang. And there are videos out there that basically talk about the differences that demo had, just sort of like in physics and controls. The item box specifically, which turned into like one of Resident Evil's most iconic things, which is back, that kind of puzzle element of moving stuff around. Back then was just like everything was one slot. Mm-hmm. And so it missed that sort of like Tetris-esque puzzle to it. So yeah, things will change. Number 12, Hunnigan. She calls you a lot on her phone. Remember her? She has an office now. Isn't that cool? She's not just like a disembodied voice on a codec. Just they show her rolling around in her office
One of
chair.
my favorite things about that game is the fact that like the main villain will just call you and be like, Leon, it's me again. And it's like, how did you get this number?
Yeah.
Why would you pick up? Why did you answer that phone?
I know he's got this like.
Why haven't we traced this call?
This like Motorola phone from 2003 or whatever, you know. And lastly, and this is one of my favorite things about this, and one of my biggest concerns. The game is still kind of campy and silly. Leon says that line, "Build me for the repairs later," after he destroys some stuff. And at the end of the demo, when the church bells ring, he does say, "Where's everybody going? Bingo?" Which was like, I don't think people understand that this is a game that is like ultimately rooted in like 80s and 90s action tropes as much as it is the Resident Evil series and horror and stuff like that. And there was a big fear of myself and a lot of other hardcore RE4 fans that like they would lose that element here. Like this game has a, you know, like the original version had like a 60-foot tall Napoleon robot who chases you through a building in a castle. Like there's some goofy stuff in here, right? Like
I love it all.
There's a jet ski, like, but this time around, it's darker, it's grimmer, it's scarier, but also I think it's still going to be pretty damn silly.
I'm very
excited about that.
You left off one important thing. You can set the cow on fire.
That's right.
It
Yes.
its shit and runs around and hits people with its little horns. And
Yeah.
stuff. So that's exciting.
I used to just knife him and or blow him up with a grenade.
And then you
Yeah,
feel
you just
bad.
knife
because I'm
him.
insane.
Yeah.
But now you can shoot the lantern above him. It'll drop down, light his ass on fire, and he'll run away. And everybody in town has roast beef.
The thing I'm most excited to see is the Del Lago fight. I am so excited for that fight. That is probably my favorite fight.
Do you think they'll put in the Easter egg where you shoot the water
100%.
first?
That's got to be in it.
The original game had an Easter egg that if you shot the water first, Del Lago would come out and eat you before you even got on the boat.
That's awesome.
So Capcom, bring that back.
I hope they do a lot of stuff to subvert expectations in that
Yes.
sense. But I'm so excited about this. Everything you're saying sounds very good.